अस्सलाम वालेकुम स्टूडेंट्स। कैसे हैं आप लोग? आई होप कि आप लोग बिल्कुल ठीक होंगे एंड यू मस्ट हैव studied the chapter again that we discussed last time, and today we are going to discuss some questions, some important questions that may be asked in your question paper. So let's have a look at these questions. Question number 1: how has the scientific method helped us in our fight against disease? Fight against disease? Yes, obviously, it has helped us greatly in our fight against diseases. Obviously, nowadays, those uh, those diseases or those epidemics are non-existent that were there 100 or 200 years ago. You know that there are a lot of type of vaccinations that control these diseases that were once very much dangerous for the human beings. And so far as the other conditions of hospitals are there, it is quite clear that nowadays babies are born in the hospitals and they are properly treated there. We live in clear environment, and we the main thing that the availability of the pure water, that is very much important. It has prevented a lot of diseases. So these are some points that you can discuss in this in the answer of this question. Question number 2, that is, write a note on better sanitary conditions available in our cities today and compare them with what they were like 100 years ago. So it's a comparison. It's a comparison between the two situations, how our sanitary conditions are nowadays and what these were like 200 years ago. Obviously, there is a very prominent change that has taken place in this field. Today, our city streets are paved and well drained. People live in clean environment, while 100 years ago the streets were narrow, unpaved, and poorly drained. The garbage was thrown into the streets. Outdoor toilets were common, and very dangerous thing is that in that period very little water was available to the people for their cleaning purposes, and this was the main thing that was the cause of different diseases. So now, if you look at all these things, these sanitary conditions are interlinked with it, and due to these sanitary conditions, we are better able nowadays to overpower all such conditions that can take us towards very much dangerous diseases. Question number 3: what are the sanitary conditions like in our village today, and how would you improve them? Unluckily, today, our city streets are paved and well drained, but sanitary conditions are not good in the village. Even today, the streets are narrow and unpaved. Even today, the same conditions can be seen that were 100 or 200 years ago, even in the cities. Outdoor toilets are common. Dirty water flows in open drains. We can improve it by setting sanitation department. So you can give also other details that is in your observation in this connection. Let's have a look to the next question. Question number 4. How has the scientific method helped us in production and preservation of foods? This is the thing which has been changed totally. Today, we use machines to plow fields, sow seeds, and harvest crops. So this is the thing that is related to the agriculture department. And you know, 100 or 200 years ago, there were no such availabilities for the farmers that they weren't so developed tools they were having in that time. They used just the cattle for such purposes, and this was the reason that they couldn't have good crops, fine crops. Nowadays there is agriculture science is a complete branch of science. They are giving good seeds to the farmers, they are giving fertilizers to them, and they are giving knowledge about this field to them. How can they get good crops? So that is a change that has taken place in agricultural field, and we use methods of nowadays very modern and scientific methods are used to preserve food, like freezing, dehydration, pickling, drying, and canning to preserve food. So this is the reason that nowadays a huge variety of foods are available throughout the year to the people, and they can enjoy it at any time throughout the year. We are now generally less fearful than our ancestors. What were our ancestors afraid of? Question number 5. These are the actual words that are used in this chapter, that what our ancestors were afraid of. वो कौन सी चीज़ थी जिससे वो हमारे ancestors जो थे वो खौफजदा रहते थे? Our ancestors were superstitious. They were afraid of black cat, broken mirror, and number 13. Now we know that there is a solid reason behind every happening. Very important thing to note, that man is afraid of all those things he doesn't understand, and this was the reason that they couldn't understand these natural happenings, and they were afraid of that. For example, eclipses that were very obviously, time to time eclipses are observed in the world, and when such things happened they couldn't understand. They were very much they felt very much fearful about that. So this was the thing, that because they were superstitious, they didn't understand the real reason behind every such happening. So this was the reason that they were very much fearful about all such things. Now move to the question number 6. How has the scientific method enabled us to get over the old fears? Obviously, nowadays we are very much critical about everything. We look at the things critically, and even today a child can is able to ask the questions why, how. So these are the questions that are base of scientific methods, and this is the reason that we don't assume things nowadays. We know that there is a good solid reason behind every happening, and it has made us rational. Thus, we have got over our old fears. Now the next question number 7. I think this is the question, second last question of this exercise, and the question number 7. What part did astrology play in the lives of men and women in the past? Give examples. Before answering this question, you must understand that what the astrology is. Astrology is the knowledge of stars. It is in the past, astrologers predicted events, and because people were superstitious, they went to the astrologers before performing or before doing anything that is very much important in their life, like marriages. So they were very much dependent on the astrologists and astrologers, and this was the reason that they were their business was in practice in that time. Question number 8. Describe some of the superstitions still current in our country? How do they affect the lives of those who believe in them? Even today, people cut off their journey if a black cat crosses their way, and they believe that some guest will come if a crow caws on the wall of the house. And the number 13, that is not having a good omen in it, so they don't choose 13 date 13 for their very much important events. These are some very common examples that are even today in practice in our society. But it's again a great reality that there are very few people, or the people who are having old thoughts or old ideas, they believe in them. But modern generation is not having so much affected by these thoughts. Now, there may be some other questions that can be asked about uh, what is the method of dehydration, for example. What is the method of dehydration? What is meant by dehydration? D, as you know, is a prefix that is attached to hydration. It means the removal of water from the food. Water is removed from such foods like egg, potatoes, and apples to preserve them for a long time. And then you may also be asked that what are the superstitions? Superstitions are false fears. Superstitious people believe in the signs of good and bad omens and good or bad luck. They feel protected by some certain sort of conditions, or some certain sort of things to wear, like camels. And this is the these are such all such things are called superstitions. And if you are asked the question, what does attitude mean? An attitude means the way we feel towards an idea, a thing, or an event. A way of our thinking or behaving about that. So these were some important questions that may be asked about this chapter. Dear students, you should prepare these questions in your notebooks and then learn by heart. And uh, and that's all for today. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.